got a little crazy to her. Like it's charismatic, but there's a little insanity. Like she could be Harley Quinn or something. Like she could be, this hot serial killer, so to speak. You know what I mean? Like, and I feel that Sweeney is just kind of like, again, I would never claim that she's unattractive or something like that. But also, if you showed me a picture of her and told me that she was like a porn star, I might agree with you. And I don't mean that in a good way. Like, I don't, do you understand this
Okay,
crucial
I
distinction that
will
I'm
say
making?
I did not watch Euphoria, but I did watch White Lotus, and the writing was so good on that show that I would say that her acting didn't detract from what I consider excellent writing. So yeah,
Yeah.
I wouldn't say that she wasn't one of the main focal
I've
points.
only seen Madam Web. No, just kidding. I would never go see that movie.
No.
I've actually never seen her act, so
Yeah,
I'm kind of just going
so
off
yeah,
my gut here.
I think you would like. I think you would like White Lotus. Like the writing is actually quite good in this show, and I think and
Yeah.
it kind of like she plays within her range. Listen, I get what you're saying. Margot Robbie is exceptionally good looking, so that's like kind of like
Yeah.
an unfair comparison. That whole, you can tell that a lot of men didn't see women without makeup when they were calling her mid because women don't look how they look on Instagram and Twitter without makeup. And when Margot Robbie went
Right.
to go eat lunch with a friend, she wasn't wearing makeup. And
Oh, and she looked amazing.
I find
I mean,
she
yeah.
looks more attractive to me because I know that's how women look. But that's kind of how things were online. But no, I get what you're saying.
And she was good in Barbie. Like, I don't know how you can pull off playing a doll and kind of give a doll a personality. Like, I don't know. She's actually a talented person. And I don't know. It seems like Sydney, I don't know. Perhaps I'm just being way too harsh because
Yeah,
I've never seen her. But she just kind of doesn't strike me. She doesn't have that. It's charisma. There's no other word for it. It's like that. You can't. It's a je ne sais quoi. There's something that is magnetic and a little bit dangerous about someone who has charisma. And I think Margot Robbie has that. And there are a lot of pretty faces. I mean, you can kind of go, I mean, you do. I mean, the incels are right about a few things. Sometimes you'll see this like attractive person working at Walgreens. I mean, it's not unheard of.
yeah, but
Like,
you know what
there's
that's done.
something else. It's
Yeah,
charisma. It's
they'll
that,
find somebody in Iowa who is like of German ancestry, and they'll be like, "This is what like girls in rural Iowa look like working at Walmart." And they'll find the
right.
one beautiful woman, that girl that works there, and everybody else looks like the average
But they're
American.
not totally wrong about that.
Listen, I would say
I
that.
remember this time I was driving across the country. This was like 12 years ago, and I drove across the country. And I arrived in Bismarck, North Dakota, in at like 11 p.m. and I was very tired, and I slept in because I was exhausted. So I like got out, woke up at 9 and just like walked across the street to McDonald's and or McDonald's as they say in the South. And it was insane. There was like an elderly gentleman reading the newspaper at McDonald's, and like everyone there was blonde, and they had like good service. They were like, "Good morning, sir. Welcome." I was like, "What is this?" Like I've stepped into a time warp. But
I mean,
it
but
was like North Dakota.
yeah, but the truth is that like it could also happen in bad areas because like even even Chick-fil-A in the hood that you get good service, like so this is
True,
true.
true.
This is true. I mean, better service than you would in a Burger King. I will say that. But I see what you're saying. Go ahead, Jason. Your thoughts. I mean, listen. I mean, I agree with what you're saying to an extent. I just think that online, the whole concept of like attractiveness is so skewed. It's very skewed because I think the average American's ugly. I don't know what to tell you. Like, it's the average person's ugly.
Yeah, unfortunately true.
Yeah. We're not the best looking country. I love our country, but we're not the most attractive country. I will say that.
Uh, Richard, I saw yesterday you say rightfully so that we're not a serious country because Jackson Hinkle isn't being arrested for literally riding on a tank in Russia.
Yeah. Oh, Jason with the I don't know. I don't know. Your thoughts on that, Richard? I don't know if he's actually riding on a tank, by the way. I didn't even see the.
Sorry,
Yeah, no.
I left my house and to walk my dog, and I moved from Wi-Fi to the network, so I did not hear the comment.
He asked. He was like, he agrees with your comment the other day that you made it yesterday. That you said that we're not a serious country because we don't arrest Jackson Hinkle and that other short.
Oh yeah,
they're making a mockery of
that's
America.
just yeah. I mean, it's there's like I don't know where the line is, but like riding on a Russian tank is over it. I mean, I'm not going to accuse like everyone who is maybe say anti-Ukraine or is skeptical of the war, maybe even like you're a Russophile who loves Russian culture. I'm not accusing any of those people of being assets or whatever, but you see something like that and it's traitorous. I would say the same thing about Jane Fonda and the Viet Cong. I mean, again, we look back on the Vietnam War and we have differing opinions, but I mean, give me a break. If that's not a Kremlin asset, then like what is? I mean, I can't go to a foreign country and get driven around on a tank unless I'm serving their interest. Anyway.
Yeah, I think it's very odd. I'd say that there's no evidence that there's a Russian tank. I think that it could be some type of vehicle that he's on just to troll. I still think that he's behaving in ways that I find more of a troll job for engagement farming than a foreign asset. I just couldn't kind of like what you say, Richard. If he legitimately was subverting America and working with foreign governments, our country's just fucking done because the fact that they're just allowing this to happen with total immunity, I don't get it. So I'm more of the mindset that he's just on the side of more bullshitting. But again, you're right to an extent. Right?
Might be the case. Although there's just so much around that whole sphere. I don't know. Russia. It's funny. There's this Russian guy who immigrated and is extremely skeptical of Putin and the Kremlin, etc. He always tells me that I think that they're more intelligent than they are. They're just a bunch of guys like, living off natural resources and they have a, authoritarian society. I think they're highly sophisticated when it comes to, I guess we would just use the word propaganda. It's propaganda of a different type. But
I mean, this
yeah,
is
go
the
ahead.
whole thing. This is the whole thing that I thought kind of. Why I was surprised you had a different stance on because we sometimes agree on things, but why I found that video that came out before, which the first about the girls, they were like probably of LSU, and like I said, they were the top tier sorority. That they were dancing. Yes, it was to urban hip hop music. I understand, but they were dancing by themselves, right? But I will say, Richard, that all those girls, they were pretty all in shape. They were between average attractive to very attractive young women, right? And we've been to college and we know how pretty a lot of the top tier sororities are. Like they vet them purely based on looks and other things, but that's how they are, right? And that's a bunch of pretty girls. So that's kind of what Russia uses to show us what their women look like in a lot of these videos that go viral. So I interpreted the video a lot different than a lot of people did. That I'm like, this is like kind of a video just at least showing us about women. Because honestly, they were pretty modestly dressed. They weren't doing anything, in my opinion, like whorish. And I think everybody was assuming that they saw that video and then they were gonna like have like orgies with like rappers after. It was a very weird take that I saw, like quote unquote right wing Twitter take on that one. I think it was a little bit of a.
Oh yeah, to say that it was a bit cringe is a reasonable take on it, but and yeah, a different music selection I would have preferred. But yeah, it's just girls being girls. I mean, and it's kind of a sign of health. I mean, it's kind of funny, a bit cringe. They know they're being cringe, actually. Um, but yeah, I mean, the right wing Twitter is just an unhealthy group of people. I mean, I've just concluded that like the liberals are correct about many things, and that is one of them.
Yeah, I mean, I think that right wing Twitter. I'd say that the right's probably having less sex than the left based on what I view on Twitter. And by sex, I mean healthy sexual relations. I'm not even talking about like going out and like, I feel like that there's such a disconnect. And kind of like you said with the Russians being intelligent, like I do find that they are penetrating a lot of our discourse when it comes to, I don't know if it's Russia. I don't know if it's Russia or if it's China or if it's whatever, but they're like engaging in a lot of this like controversial racial cultural whatever um, discussions that are so divorced of reality. Like, the one thing is that I think I told you this or told somebody this. Like, the person behind that whole Taylor Swift AI like gang bang like thing that got in trouble, whatever. He has like a Middle Eastern name. He's not even an American, and I'm not surprised at all. It's not an American that started that whole AI thing with Taylor Swift, which Taylor Swift is uniquely an American cultural thing. Although she's an international superstar, she is an American cultural phenomenon, right? So yeah, that's an example of that.
Icon is the word you're looking for.
Yeah, sure. But what I'm saying is that I find that our discourse that we're eating up in America, I think, is being subverted by other countries that don't have as obviously free of access to information. And I don't know. At this point, I think it's hurting us. I don't know. I don't know. I mean, if I was a leader of a country, I would say like, listen, like there's like a lot of like lines that like dictators used in conflict, whether it's Stalin or other leaders like Hitler or whatever, that give them advantage. That they said that they have an advantage when it comes down to international, conflict. And the fact that we are able to look at ourselves and be disgusted at ourselves because the worst elements are being highlighted consistently, I think is detrimental to our society. I don't know the solution. I do like the freedom of information that I have as an American, but I don't know. Lucien, your thoughts on Sydney Sweeney? You were like, I'm surprised that all these women are dunking on her because she's like prettier than like 80% of women, right? And you said something to me like that.
Yeah, I said 80% because I didn't want you to come back and be like, oh no, she's a 7. To me, it's like over 90% of women. I have no idea why people are. I don't think they're jealous. It's just every time they pick someone and just shit on that person for no reason. I don't know why. Maybe because she's blonde. I don't know. She's very pretty. Very, very pretty.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, yeah. I think part of it's engagement, and I think part of it is that it's your cup of tea. Maybe some people aren't into that. I guess I don't get it. There, to me, the one that I never understood, like, um, what's her name? That was in like she's not unattractive. Who is the one? Richard probably knows this actress. She was in Training Day with Denzel Washington. She was a Puerto Rican actress. She is a Puerto Rican actress.
I've never seen that film, but
She
I know
not
what you're
Eva Long.
talking about. I don't. I don't know, average, maybe.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, and she was attractive, but like people are saying she's like the most beautiful woman on earth, and I'm like, I don't know about that. But again, it's objective. But I just I walk around the country, and even in areas that like I'd say the average woman, if you walk around like Boston, for example, where women are younger and in better shape, like they're more attractive than if you walk around like I don't know a random city in Alabama. I hate to be like I hate to be culturally
I take your word
insensitive.
for it. I've never been to any
Yeah.
of those places.
No, Boston, the women are
boxing, that's just a bizarre statement. boxing is notorious for dogs, and I say that as someone who's in that city and who remains a Boston Red Sox fan.
Have you been to Boston recently? The women.
Yeah,
Richard,
I was there in November.
You really think that?
Well, look,
know, man.
In any city, the issue is like comparison. Like in any city, you're going to find attractive women. I mean that you could go to, a city in Turkey. You could go to a big city in China. You can go to a big city.
Why are we hating on Sydney Sweeney today?
Don't derail us. I was just using that as an example. But no, I would say
Mr.
that,
Doctor, why are we hating on Sydney Sweeney today?
Well, hold on.
I mean, I'm not. Nobody's.
If you go
just relax.
Look, I get it. Boxing, you're responding to like the obesity, etc. Okay, I get that. But if you go to a like upper crust sorority at the University of Alabama or at the University of Texas or TCU or whatever, I would say that 80 of 100 of those women in like, whatever, I'm forgetting the names of these sororities at this now that I'm older, but 80% of those women are more attractive than like the top 20% of Boston. Like when I was in Tennessee, Nashville, Tennessee a few years ago, there were a lot of attractive people. Now, granted, if you go to the Walmart or whatever, you're going to see a bunch of fatzos, but we knew that already. But claiming that Boston is like the mecca of
New York City's the mecca
attractive
for
women. It's just perhaps your most bizarre statement.
New York City is the mecca.
Your coldest take.
Hold on. Let me, Richard. Let me compare this. Let me say this. So the closest big city to me is DC, and I will say that women in DC are particularly not attractive. So that's kind of where it comes from. So that's the closest big city that I go to frequently, and I would say probably Richmond is a smaller city, but whatever. There's like hipster chicks that are attractive there and whatever. And I actually live in an area that there are attractive people. I'm just saying, in Boston, you're right. Maybe it's just a response to the obesity epidemic. And honestly, if you really want to know my take on Boston, it's more of a take on overall how clean the city is and how safe it is for a large city. So the women that operate in a environment of such, maybe I'm a little more warm to the actual attractiveness, and I wasn't there for the purpose of seeking out women. I was, so I think that's kind of where maybe I had that take from. So yes, I will further investigate my claim on that, but compared to DC, yes.
You're saying your bias is because of those and not because you're from Boston?
No, I'm saying that
I'm from Boston, but I was born there. At least I grew up in Texas, so I'm the perfect person to show objectivity.
When's the last time you've been to Boston, Richard?
In November of 2023. I mean, I was there.
Yeah.
I agree. I like Boston. It's a cool town. It feels like a small town, and it's totally different than being in New York City, for instance, or any other metropolis. So I like that. And, I would defend Boston all day long, but I'm just saying, like, when I visited my nephews at TCU, you would just see, like, here's a sort, Kappa Kappa Gamma or whatever. Like, you'd see them walking around with sweatshirts of their sorority. And it's like, I don't know. All of those girls look like.
Well, Richard, I mean, it's the same thing in the school that I went to. I went to a major SEC school. I get it.
Yeah.
But we're talking about, okay. So we're talking about, you take, let's just say the top 400 or 500 women out of a class of, I don't know, 15,000. You know what I mean? You're really dwindling it down. And there's a certain university. So I agree with you. Also, there's an age demographic too, where women are between the ages of 18 and 22 in that demographic. So yeah, I understand what you're saying. I guess for me, it was more of an observation. And like I said, I think DC is probably one of the ugliest cities for women in the country. I stand by that statement.
Well, yeah, because you have, you see what the business is there. And Boston, Boston's kind of like an academic city. And it obviously has other industries and and so on. But it's not going to attract the women. Now, right, New York City, you can occasionally walk through a hip neighborhood, and you can see like you're rubbing shoulders with supermodels. I mean, it can be ridiculous, or it can be totally. Like you've been, you're Charlton Heston thrown into the Planet of the Apes or something. I mean, I mean that, of course, figuratively speaking. But yeah, it's a wild place. There's no doubt about it.
I mean, this is, I get it. There's this area in Kings Plaza that did have that nickname growing up in Brooklyn. I heard that one. Well, I didn't grow up in Brooklyn, but they used to call it the Charlton Heston. It's called Kings Plaza, also known as Plaza of the something. Again, this is a joke from that area, whatever. But Jason, go ahead.
A U.S. Air Force employee has been charged with giving classified information to a woman he met on a dating site.
Which one? Is it the one who was on fire?
No.
Oh. Yeah, I mean, that happens all the time. The classified information thing is a weird one because there's degrees of classified information that people who are like not military jobs, I just know this because you could like work on like some type of like ship and get classified information. So yeah, I don't know. Like, also don't know why the news publishes that. It's kind of weird. I don't know. Go ahead, SEAL team, Swift.
Yeah, I just want to shed light on the Sydney Sweeney question. She's actually is a pretty good actress. Euphoria, she's really good in. White Lotus, she was good. She played the part. And then I don't know if you guys remember that reality winner or what's that? There was the person that stole the documents to expose Trump. She played her too. And she was actually not bad in that. She actually kind of made herself look ugly. And there is something.
Yeah, she did a what's her name when she played Monster. What's her name? The one I mentioned. Charlize Theron. She played Monster.
Yeah. So she just doesn't always play like the hot big boob chick. So she does have a little bit of range. There is something. The reason a lot of the women particularly on Twitter, hate her is because she comes from a very conservative family. Like she went to like her grandma's birthday party and there was like blue line flags and they're like Trump supporters and she doesn't like disavow them. So
I think she went to like some type of antebellum type of thing one time and I remember this. Yeah.
I don't know. Trump supporters are hating on her too.
Well, yeah, I'm just talking about from like the girls that are hating on her, particularly, which are usually like the left leaning type of girls on this website. Even some of the guys too. That's the reason why.
Yeah, I'm realistic here to know that actresses and actors, generally speaking, are empty vessels, and their personalities aren't that relevant. Like, I'm a huge Shane Gillis fan. He's a comedian. Yeah, he's going to be amazing on Saturday Night Live. He's amazing. He's funny. He's smart. Yeah, and he's, right wing, whatever. So that's the good difference between him and her. I get it. But ultimately, I don't really care too much about their personalities. Like, there's no reason to dunk on her the way people are criticizing her. She's kind of dumb in certain ways. I remember.
Yeah.
Bill Maher.
Yeah,
Bill Maher kind of had she had like a little interview with him one time. And Bill Maher, who I think is an asshole, even though I agree with some of the stuff he says, he came off as an asshole with her because she was being kind of woke about like some transgender shit. And he was like smoking weed. It's like, dude, you're like 60 years old. You're smoking weed talking to like a hot fucking 23-year-old at the time. Like, what are you going to like have in common with her? Like, it's a weird interview. And, I guess I'm much closer to her age than he is, obviously. But, it was just a weird interview.
Are you talking about Bill Maher? Bill Maher. Okay.
Yeah, the guy who. Yeah.
The thing, she kind of she wasn't an actress, but she kind of reminds me. There's been like I don't know if you guys remember Kate Upton. She was kind of like a big boob supermodel that came up in like the early 2010s.
No. Sydney Sweeney's much.
Yeah, no, but she's kind of filling that gap in the pop culture. Like kind of like
I saw. Here's the thing. Yeah, here's the thing. I saw White Lotus. Euphoria is a show that like I don't really want to watch because like I do not like. And again, like I am one of the few people that I'm not like I'll watch whatever, but I don't want to watch a show about like teenage like drug use and sex. Like it's just not interesting to me. It's weird.
Yeah, I do think
It's
you
not
have
really
to
my
engage
thing.
in that type of content though, because it's like such a pop cultural, and it is a
No,
smart
but Steven,
show. It's not
I
like a stupid
no,
show.
that's not sure, but like I'm not going to engage in the show 13 Reasons Why or whatever that's about suicide. Fuck that. I'm not going to watch a show justifying suicide. Like I'm just not doing it. And I am very open-minded when it comes down to art. I'm definitely more conservative than a lot of people on Twitter, but I will watch liberal movies because I like liberal movies because they're typically better. But I'm not going to watch a movie justifying suicide. I'm also not going to watch a movie justifying
Oh, I don't
drug
think
use and
it doesn't
crazy.
justify it, in my opinion. I mean, it's a pretty dark
They're,
show.
they're, it's still
No,
romanticizing, man. I'm
if you
just
haven't saw, yeah, like
yeah.
I don't think it justifies it at all, and I don't even think it's a
Not
left wing
yeah.
a left wing show. A lot of people that like it, but it is layered, and so I think it's worth engaging in. And the guy that writes it is a pretty he's a dark guy, but it's an interesting show, and I think it's important to understand what the generation coming up and how they think and stuff like that, and how that's going to change the culture.
Yeah, I try. I mean, maybe Euphoria is something I would give a chance because people do think it's like decently well written. And I guess on that note, like Euphoria is something I made. I'm still trying to get through. I'm still trying to get through an episode or two of Curb Your Enthusiasm.
Oh
Like,
yeah,
I don't
that's
really
just
watch that
eating
much.
potato chips, though. Yeah, that I watched the one last night,
Yeah,
but yeah. Well, I mean, the best
yeah,
shows that have come out are Succession and White Lotus in like the last 5 years.
yeah. No,
Euphoria is not on that level, but like it is one that is just particular to like the youth of today, and it's one of the few smart shows that are based towards Gen Z, so to speak.
Well, the interesting thing is that I saw Dune. This is kind of another. I don't know. Listen, you said something about Dune because I did see Dune. I watched Dune, and I thought it was good. I thought it was very well made. I thought the cinematography was phenomenal. Even though it's science fiction, it didn't smack me in the face with politics. Like I enjoyed it. I had zero problems with Dune. Zero. Um, Zendaya and her acting is whatever. And I know the same thing with Timothée Chalamet, but like everything about that movie was good. It was entertaining. I'm glad I spent I don't know, $8.50 it was per ticket to go to the movies. It was an enjoyable movie, and I'm glad that there's movies that are made that are good, that aren't Marvel, that aren't overtly political, that are just science fiction. And at the end of the day, I think that that's a good thing that the
I
movie
love the
theater was
fact that it
full.
was
And
not political. I cannot agree with you more. And I didn't even watch number one, but I didn't need to. It was pretty obvious what's what. I mean, I knew the story, but I didn't watch number one. I don't know why.
yeah, and the thing is, like, typically, like, I'm a weird person. Like, I think that, like, I'm like, well, movies that they should all be rated R because they shouldn't be PG-13 that are like adult concepts. But, like the way that this movie was made, like it didn't bother me that it was like a little more like clean. It was just done really well. Like it wasn't overly. It was just again, it was a very enjoyable. About 2.5, 3 hours. I mean, listen, when I saw it in the movies, I don't know if you saw the same previews. There's this fucking movie coming out. It was called Civil War.
Oh yeah.
Did you get that?
I
Yeah,
saw.
and I
I
look
didn't
at
see.
this
I saw
movie.
Dune 1, which I thought was excellent, but I didn't. I saw the trailer for that on YouTube, and it was like that movie that came out a few years ago about the rich people killing like the Trump supporters. It kind of had that type of vibe to it.
Yeah, whatever, exactly. And I'm just like, so it's like Marvel, and then like this bullshit, and again, like you watch Dune. I'm trying to think of the movie that I saw recently. Okay, so I saw Dune. Um, the last movie I saw before that was Napoleon,
Oh yeah,
which was
yeah.
awful.
Which
That
one?
just
Which
came
is
out on
awful.
Apple TV, so I'm gonna watch that. But
Well, I saw it in the movie, the one with um
Joaquin Phoenix,
Joaquin
yeah,
Phoenix. Yeah,
Oh
Ridley
my god,
Scott
and
I
film.
love that guy. I haven't
yeah,
watched
but it
that
was.
movie.
Listen, I'm telling you, the movie, and I love the last Ridley Scott movie. the last duel or the final duel. That was phenomenal. I actually didn't see that in the movie theater. In fact, when that movie came out, I remember there was an article written saying that that movie proved the end of cinema as we know it because it had 3 A-list actors. It had Adam Driver, not Mark Wahlberg, Matt Damon, and Ben Affleck, and then some other actors starring it. It was Ridley Scott, and it was an epic piece. That movie back in the day would make $400 million easily. And that movie bombed in the box office because everything at the time was either a random Disney movie or Pixar, Marvel, and that's it. And I do find it encouraging that Dune does well. Oppenheimer and Barbie, I think I didn't see Barbie, which I will. I do have to watch it. I know it was like,
I
real like
haven't
machine gun
either,
with all the.
but I tell everyone I watched it. I haven't watched it because my sister said you're not gonna like it. I love the Oppenheimer though.
Yeah, I didn't think
Yeah,
Barbie
Oppenheimer
was
was.
a bad movie.
But, no, and like I do like to like I actually thought the movie The Whale was good. The one that was starred.
Yeah, the
What's
Darren
his name?
Aronofsky movie, with
Yeah, I mean, I thought it was
Brendan
good.
Fraser.
Brendan Fraser. I thought the movie was good. It was not like a rewatchable type of movie because it's hard to watch someone just eat themselves to death, and it's a weird movie. But again, like for what it was good. But the point I'm trying to make is that I do find it pretty optimistic in my sense because I do like going to the movies and not just sitting at home and just watching the movie that came out. The experience, especially because you know it's not that much more expensive. If, in fact, it's the same price for where I live to go to like a movie where you have like a nice seat and they could serve you like a drink and a burger if you want to eat while doing it. Like, you kind of like kill two birds with one stone.
Yeah,
You're like
it's
a
a
dinner and a
dinner and a
movie is a
movie,
dinner
but
and a
in
movie. Yeah,
one. Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. I was
And I kind of like
reading.
that experience. Yeah.
I was reading an interesting thing on Puck, which is like a entertainment kind of like a newsletter, and so the movie business this year has been dying. Like they all the films have been kind of tanking, and but the thing is that at the high end, so the IMAX, the luxury theaters, those have been extreme. What's really killing the movie is the kind of like the mezzanine level is getting killed. So I think what's going to happen is we're going to have like a bifurcated type of uh, um, entertainment industry where you're going to have the really high end movies, which will be fine. They do very well. And you're going to have the low end, which is just going to be direct to TV, Netflix type of movies. So you're going to be
Yeah.
losing the middle tier type
But
of movies,
right.
which is kind of.
But but we've already, yeah, you're saying like the art house movies won't get, no, but like we've already kind of seen that. But the problem that I have is like, believe it or not, I find that because at the end of the day, it's just like a weird like setup because again, like I think that Hollywood for a long time, you know, they've gone one way and it's not like woke or whatever. I hate that term, but they make unenjoyable films based on whatever they want to produce. And at the end of the day, they've been hurting financially for it. Like I'm pretty sure like these Marvel movies even went so far to the left when they had all female like superheroes. Like people don't want to see that.
Yeah.
But
The
like the
first
way
one I
that
remember
the
was
way
the
that
Ghostbusters, the woman Ghostbusters movie. That's when like it really like
right
people got like sick of
right
woke.
and then compare that to like a movie that I saw that again. I don't think the movie was great, but like I thought I actually watched it on an airplane. The um, the Top Gun, the
Oh
remake.
yeah, that was
Or
great.
not the
I mean,
remake.
that's just good old fashioned American cinema.
Yeah. I mean, it's. I thought it was a whatever movie, but it was
Yeah,
enjoyable.
it's not the
But
best
that's
to
what the
watch it
American
on an
public.
airplane too.
But right, but yeah, but what I'm saying is that the American public financially, voted for that. In other words, they used their money and they went to that, right? So Dune will do well, I'm sure, because like I said, it made $200 million in opening weekend worldwide. I think they'll make enough money to do a third one because obviously, if you read the books, they could easily make a third one because Dune Messiah.
Yep.
Hopefully, they don't dry it out too much, but whatever. That's a whole other discussion. But what I'm saying is that um, but with Netflix, I think that until they see a dip in subscriptions, and that's one thing I've looked at. I'm like, oh, man, like I spend $20 a month on Netflix. Like, why do I still have it? Because I have it because I feel like I need it. because Netflix has a lot of like exclusive content. But out of all the streaming services, I think Netflix is the one that I like the least, and B, I think it's the most like politically correct woke shit like that exists. Because if you look at all their produced shows, it's all they can never just make a history movie about just I don't know the invention of like the invention
Everything
of I don't know
has
the
to have a
door.
point. Like I don't get it.
Yeah, the one good one I saw in there was with the Timmy. You ever see The King on Netflix? With like based in England, with Timothy
Yeah, but
Chalamet.
how?
It was like five
Yeah, but
years ago, maybe.
yeah, but that's what I'm saying. No, and I thought Peaky Blinders was like okay. There's something else that came out of it. I thought that the show actually, even though it was like, I thought the one that did Jeffrey Dahmer was okay actually.
The
There's
Crown's
certain
not
things that
bad.
I've watched that are yeah. The point I'm trying to make is that Netflix, I think, is one of the worst, content producers, and they're the most woke. But the problem is that until they see a big dip in their revenue, they're not
They're
going to
not.
change their
They're
business model.
McDonald's. They're not going to see a dip.
Exactly. So this is why it's bullshit. So this is why I have a hope for cinema. And for some reason, HBO, I don't know why they allow the producers to do certain things. Like I know it leans left, but like they still allow like White Lotus to kind of have like down the middle like comedy in their
Yeah,
writing.
I wouldn't even call White
There's some
Lotus left. I mean, Michael White's an interesting guy. Like he's even.
no. I think it's the most apolitical show I've ever seen because it kind of like criticizes like relationships dynamics from like the male and female
Yeah,
perspective.
yeah, he's
It kind of
bisexual.
it kind
The
of
guy, you could tell he has a hatred towards women a little bit.
yeah. The writer.
Yeah, the writer. Yeah, well, it's interesting. He doesn't. He
Yeah,
just writes the show himself. It's literally one person. There's no writer room.
yeah. And Succession, I would say Succession is another show. It's like I know this sounds like kind of like weird to say, but just seeing a show that starred all white people is weird to say. See, you'll never see it again.
Yeah,
You will
you
never
had
see
to,
it
right?
again.
You're doing a billionaire family, and also he also kind of made Logan Roy the most sympathetic character on the show, which is basically kind of funny,
What the? Well, yes,
right?
you're
Because
right. No, the show is excellent. I
yeah,
agree. I thought there's some repetitive nature stuff in the show,
yeah, I
but
think
they
he
did a lot
realized
with
it.
the
That's why he
defense.
ended it when he did. I mean, they wanted to keep on going with that thing because that was really all they had besides White
Yeah,
Lotus.
I mean, after the death of Logan Roy, I think it kind of got difficult to make the show kind of what it was. They wrapped it up at the perfect time. They could have dragged that out another season, like many shows do, but
And the Alex
they didn't.
Skarsgård character was really interesting too. The kind of Elon Musk proxy.
I didn't love his character. Again, I'm just being hypercritical of a show that I'm just comparing it to the same level that people compare like the greats to. I'd say that for me, um, I'd say the funniest thing about watching the show is I realized that whatever the name's actor is was actually the uncle in the movie The Ringer with Johnny Knoxville. That was an incredible find that I put the pieces together. But yeah, let me hear your thoughts on this, Jess, about Sydney Sweeney. Let me just go back to kind of this whole thing because you came in when we were talking about Sydney Sweeney. Oh yeah, on the top, by the way, Lucien reposted it. I posted what they think about what they show Hooters looks like and what it actually looks like. But yeah, go ahead.
So actually, I didn't come in about the Sydney Sweeney thing. I don't even know. I know nothing about actors or anything. Like if you actually talk to me about authors, I'd be more familiar. I'm more of a reader than a book or than a movie watcher. But the thing that I've noticed about movies and what irritates me personally about it is that what happens is it's almost formulaic where they pretty much have to include certain elements. And a lot of writers have been complaining about this with trying to get into the movie industry, where it's like this formulaic, like you have to include these elements. If you don't include these elements, then you're not going to get the show, because they're trying to entice the audience with like certain types of sexual content, certain types of this kind of content. You have to include, this type of romance. You have to, if you have a romance in your book, you have to have like try whatever the other person that loves the person, and all that stuff going on. So it's very it's frustrating, and it stifles creativity and, new ideas from occurring, because it's just like they think, okay, well, this makes money, thus we're going to continue this, even if it is a failure, and it continues to fail. And I think people are just kind of tired of that formulaic sort of feel to everything. Everything feels formulaic, and then it also feels just kind of woke. And when wokeness over supersedes, like if you think about the old Christian films where they failed, like some of the Christian films that, didn't do so well and everything, and it's because they put the message over the artistry,
Can,
right?
can I ask you
Yes.
a question about a movie that I think that was very it didn't and again, like, I'm not like, I just, the movie Silence that was made by Martin Scorsese, right? It was a Christian movie, and it got very, and it was not low budget,
Hmm.
but it was a movie that he made because he wanted to make it, from his own perspective. I don't know how accurate it was, but it was a movie about faith and Christianity. It was not an anti-Christian movie.
Hmm.
In fact, it kind of showed this, how evil non-Christians were to Christian Jesuits that existed in the Japanese imperial era
Hmm.
when they were spreading the word of Christ. So it was a pretty pro-Christian movie. That movie was not widely distributed and didn't make a lot of money. But he's Martin Scorsese, so he can make a movie like that.
Hmm.
Have you ever seen that movie, or heard about it?
Yeah,
A movie called
I've heard
Silence.
about it. I'm not a movie watcher, to be honest. So my husband is more likely to, have watched it. I tend to read books and he tends to watch movies. So, like, if he's, reading or watching a movie, I'm generally going and reading a book. I probably could ask him about it. I'll probably go ask him about it a little later. But yeah, so for me, like, the thing is, if it's formulaic, and sometimes, like, if it's too artsy and not accessible, what I'm talking about is, like, if you just, you have to allow writers some freedom, right? And if you make it so that it's so restrictive that you can't get into characters, right? You have to, I think people like to connect with characters, right? So there's, if you think about writing, there are two different types of general types of authors. There's character authors and there's plot authors. And so, like, the plot author will generally, they'd be the type of author that writes everything out and puts, like, has timelines, and, like, their whole wall is full of, like, all the events that are going to occur in the book. But sometimes that happens at the expense of the characters. So then they kind of, they just kind of go, okay, well then, the characters, I have to force the character to
But
talk,
is the
right?
reason that these authors are writing in that format is because they're fighting for, like, distribution
Yes.
methods, whether it's like
Yes.
Book of the Month Club or all this other
Hmm.
stuff that helps their distribution, so that then they see return on their capital. Like, so unless you're a big enough author, you kind of have
Well,
to,
okay, so
write a book.
generally they're, because it's just the types of authorship, the types of people who are authors, like, the way that they write their books, it depends on the type of person you are. So for example, you might have a character author who writes based on, like, the characters and let the characters flow. They have a general idea of where the story is going to go, right? But the characters will kind of lead some of the sort of minute details of the actions. Does that make sense? So, like, sometimes they don't know certain things about the characters until they write it about the character. Does that make sense? So, I don't know if you,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, yeah. It's almost, yeah. You're making a book about an event, saying that this is an event about, I don't know, an oil rig explosion, and then the characters kind of fall in within the explosion. Or I'm writing a book about a teacher that has struggled her whole life to get approval from her
Yes,
parents.
like, so,
You know what I mean? I get it.
yeah, so, like, you might have a general idea, and then that's what a character author does. But the problem is when you have a character author, generally what you find is, if they're too much of a character author and they don't have any guidance in their plot, you end up with, like, the guy who never finished his books, whatever I don't know, the series. Oh my goodness, I'm forgetting. It's Game of Thrones. Game
Yeah,
of Thrones.
George. So
Yeah,
okay, right.
yeah,
So George R. R.
yeah.
Martin, and this is why I don't like
Hmm.
his book was like, I don't really like reading fantasy books even when I have time to read, like,
Hmm.
fiction. It's extremely detail oriented, and
Yes.
I don't think I don't think he's ever
His books were also
gonna finish the
creepy,
books.
so just saying. It was creepy and, like, a little pedophilic. Just saying. Creepy. I don't know if you read the
Yeah, I
the
mean, yeah,
the kid.
I read the first book.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a very it's a very exhausting read.
Mhm.
I'm not even talking about those
Mhm.
elements. I don't like reading fantasy. I don't like the way it's, and he's good in what he does. I'm
Mhm.
not arguing that. He obviously is very talented. I'm not. I'm more science fiction than fantasy anyway.
Mhm.
Fantasy's a little black to me, but yeah, I mean, yeah, it's not a right
Yeah.
wing. But again, I'm not like I don't really care about right wing literature.
Mhm.
But yeah, the pedophilic
Yeah,
stuff.
it was incredibly creepy. Just if you read the series,
Well,
I didn't read
you
every single book, but
you know who does that, by the
yes.
way?
Hmm?
You know who actually is kind of pedophilic? Stephen King, if you want to be
Oh,
honest.
yeah. Yeah. I haven't read all his books. I've read like a couple because like he's just not my style, I guess. I think that his books kind of geared towards the creepy and strange and irrational, I guess you can say, and it's irritating to me.
But if you know the movie, but the book, so I don't, the book, the movie, It versus the
Yes.
movie.
Oh, yes.
The
Mhm. Yes.
so the book, so the book in the movie It, or
The book was the
so
sixth. Yeah. Mhm.
the kids, they didn't really describe this in the movie because they can't really show this. They actually did in the original movie, but the way that the kids lost their innocence was they all had sex with the female character.
Mhm.
They all had sex with her.
Mhm.
They're not going to show that in a 2022 movie or whatever about kids all having sex with her. It's consensual, but it still is a little edgy and stuff like that. So they didn't show that, but the book describes that she wanted them all to lose their innocence, which again I think was not to see the character and that was warping these kids' minds and whatever. And
Mhm.
she let them all have sex with him. Again, it's kind of a weird topic to write about, but Stephen King always does something like that. He always has child sex and weird stuff
Yeah,
in his books.
he's
But
very creepy
yeah,
author. So like there was one book that I did like. It was The Girl Who Loved Tom Gordon. That was a good book by him because it didn't have any of that stuff in it. It was just like she gets lost in the woods and she's just trying to survive the whole time. And her hope is just like as she's like so her favorite baseball player was Tom Gordon, and this whole time she's trying to survive in the woods and like she's going through all this stuff trying to survive. It's more of a slow sort of suspensey type book, and like there are times when she's just like she starts imagining and like hallucinating at certain points, and she's seeing Tom Gordon playing baseball and stuff like that because she's just searching for hope during this period of time where she's lost in the woods. So it was a very interesting book, and it wasn't really weird, right? So it was weird, but not in the same. It was just kind of like a survival type of book, that kind of thing. So I liked that book. Um, I don't know. My husband is into this book series called Helldivers. That seems like if you're a sci-fi person, that seems like it's up your alley. Like he's really into this book series. So it's basically the world has ended, and well, kind of like it's like the world was destroyed basically, and everybody who's alive are living these like air shuttle or airships things that are above the earth or whatever, and the hell divers are people who have to go like parachute basically down to the earth to collect supplies for the airship, and they encounter all kinds of things and stuff like that. So it's like totally like guy stuff, like just shoot 'em up kind of stuff, zombies and that kind of stuff. So I don't know if you want to write that down and maybe check that book out. But that kind of stuff, if you're into that sci-fi like actiony type stuff, that book and it has some like political stuff, like not like political like now political, but like political stuff in terms of like there's stuff going on with the ship, like there's different leaders of the ship and there's rebellions in the ship and stuff like that. So um yeah.
yeah. No, I mean,
Mhm.
yeah, I could go back and listen. Yeah, I'm recording, so I can go back and listen to that. Yeah, I know. As far as television series, I know Lucen did tell me that her favorite television series was the Israeli series Fauda. That was her number one series. She thought it was extremely fair and balanced. And she told me about that show, and I'm like, listen, it's a little is pro-Israel, and she's like, no, it's really fair. So I chose to listen to that. I'm kidding. I'm joking.
I
You're like,
would like to watch that. What is
really
it called?
No, it's Fauda. It's on Netflix. No, I think it's. I'm making a joke, but I do think it's pretty impartial, to be honest. It kind of shows how both sides kind of act in ways that aren't very civil to each other.
Did,
The show's called Fauda.
did you see
It's on
300
Netflix.
AD on Netflix? I think my husband was watching that and he said he liked that for a little while. So it's called 300
No,
AD. It's like it's Rome and stuff. So it's like all that history. And,
no.
you know,
So no, I didn't. Yeah, I didn't see. I heard that there's this thing about Alexander they bring up and they focus on as him being bisexual, which probably was a fact, but like I'm pretty sure that like out of the things that were important about Alexander, I think where he put his privates weren't necessarily the most important thing from
yes.
I'm just saying like
Oh,
it's not really
I don't know if that's because I think my husband watched it for a period and then we just dropped our Netflix subscription because we're just like, nah, it's not worth it for one thing. We just kind of got tired of the Netflix. There's just
it's like
nothing good.
no
Mm-hmm.
no, it's expensive. No, that's what I'm saying. Like I was saying earlier, like Netflix is expensive. It's like what, $25 now? And you're spending like $25 for because back in the day it's like I need Netflix. And ultimately they're creating this model that, I'm like, why am I like I'm not even like I'm turning on the I want to watch a movie, so I'm gonna go to Amazon Prime. Or I like this series on HBO. So why am I spending like $30 a month or $20 a month on Netflix when I could just cut my costs that way? And yeah,
Mm-hmm.
and it's kind of weird how things have changed.
And
But
what we do, we'll
as
do
far as
like
that
free
goes,
trial. So if we want to watch a series or whatever, we'll just do like a trial period or a short period of time, like, just kind of binge it. So, or like, if they
yeah,
have like promotions or something for a certain, like streaming thing, we'll do that streaming, whatever, for a little while. And then, we'll just do it during a period of time. We don't generally keep it going because we're just like, we don't watch TV enough to keep paying all these
yeah,
different streaming services. It just seems kind of silly,
yeah.
you know?
I mean, for me, the other thing is like I do, if I'm watching movies, like I tend to actually recently do watch a lot of foreign movies. I watched a few movies that were in, like the German movies. One was like pretty good. It was like called Downfall. It's on Netflix. Oh no,
Mhm.
it's on Prime. It's called Downfall.
Mhm.
Um, it's kind of about like the end of the Third Reich, written from like a weird perspective. It's very interesting. Like, um, just kind of see it like there's another German movie that was pretty good. It was kind of about um during the I think it was like and it was like I don't know if it was in East Germany about the it's called the Bar Manif complex. I don't know exactly how it's said, but anyways, yeah, that's just
Yeah.
my take on certain things. But I'm gonna end this.
Okay.
It was nice talking to you guys. You guys have a good one, all right?